Kevy Kev here. Are you locked and loaded? I am, because this is my November 4th response video. See, I waited a long time to do this video. I want to talk to people in my Threeper groups. I want to talk to people in my Oath Keepers group. I want to talk to city councilmen, people in political activism here in North Carolina, people in my Proud Boys group. I've talked to everybody I can. Law enforcement, military, other veterans like myself. I went out, made the connections, talked to the people I needed to, so I could come up with the best ways we can respond on November 4th. Now, the left would have you believe that November 4th is a right-wing conspiracy pushed by Alex Jones. Well, one, do not slander the great prophet Alex Jones. Obviously, I'm joking. Number two, and this is big, the evidence is everywhere. These people are full of crap. Look, the New York Times just ran a full-page ad calling for a revolution on November 4th. Paid for by Refuse Fascism, who has a website calling for revolution on November 4th. There are other websites out there calling for revolution on November 4th. There's other websites calling for a revolution on November 8th, calling for more violent protests. And there's lots of left-wing groups out there whose web pages call for revolution on November 4th, including Red Guard, By All Means Necessary, and many other groups. And these are the groups that make up Antifa, because I get a lot of flack for saying, hey guys, you know, Antifa this, Antifa that, and then the left says, well, Kevin, Antifa's not an organized group. Well, okay, maybe, you know, if you want to go by semantics, the left always want to play semantics. I'll talk about that a little bit too. But yes, Antifa, anybody can say they're anti-fascist, so they're Antifa. Yeah, whatever. But there are groups paying for the protests, paying for permits, busing people to protest, paying agitators, bringing in people and color-coding them according to their own playbook, color-coding people as far as useful idiots, people who are true believers, people who are willing to do violence. They color-code them by all these groups, and they are well organized. These groups have existed and planned revolution in America for decades now. Decades. And these groups have a long history of violence. And you just have to go look at their leaders, people like Bill Ayers, you'll see. And see, this is the thing, guys. They're going to get out a lot of useful idiots out there, and we don't want to attack those people. These are just dumb kids. They think they're anarchists. They think they're communists. They've never been outside of America. They don't know how spoiled they are, but they think that they need a revolution somehow. They couldn't last 2 minutes without their iPhone and their lattes, but they want to live in a communist country. I've lived under communism and socialism. It sucks. Just to get a cup of coffee is miserable. You have to, you know, most people there work for weeks just to get enough money to pay for basic goods and services. Electricity, constant electricity, is a rarity, a scarcity. Normal running water is not something you expect in those countries. I've also lived in socialist countries, or at least so-called socialist countries in Europe and elsewhere, and these places are not the utopias the left paint them as. In fact, most of the countries the left claim are socialist are actually capitalist. And so if they're trying to fight a revolution to get to that point, they need to be moving the other way, downsizing government. Most of those Scandinavian countries don't have as large a central government or as big a welfare state. They might have socialized medicine, but they don't have all the billions of dollars of other welfare programs that this country already has. Anyway, the fact is that I wanted to do all the research I could and put together a video where I talk about how we can address things on November 4th, how we can go out and deal with these people. And I've come up with one basic conclusion. We do nothing. Now, this is something that might strike a lot of people. Well, Kevin, you know, we've had so much to put up with from the left. They've been so violent and so vile, and you know, they push people around. We're fed up. Yes, America's fed up. That's why I say do nothing. The will of the people is for the police to go in and shut this down. And we have a responsibility not to give them the boogeyman they're looking for. Especially if you know people in the alt-right, rein them in, tell them not to go out there. You know, I think that they're just as bad as Antifa in a lot of instances. But we need to control all aspects of the response to this. So even if you're not affiliated with any alt-right groups, because they are a minority, the left wants to paint them as every Republican, but only 1,000 of them showed up at Charlottesville when there are millions and millions of people who voted for Trump and support. In fact, there are more conservatives and Republicans in America than there are Democrats. If you include libertarians, there's a major majority over Democrats of people who lean right. So it's BS to think that America is going to tolerate these anarchists and these far left extremists going in and causing havoc. We are fed up, and the police are fed up more than we are. They are looking for an excuse. We do have an action and a responsibility to take on that day. Our responsibility is to call all of our local government. We should be calling them ahead of time. I've already called my local police force and local city and even my governor. But we have a responsibility to call these people ahead of time and on the day of and put pressure for them to act. Because the left has picked these cities where they think the police will stand down, where they have far left city councils, just like they did in Charlottesville, just like they did in Berkeley. They hope that the police will stand down and let them do their thing and cause property damage like they did in Baltimore. It's a pattern. You see it all the time. So they've picked cities where they know that they have a large left-leaning population and that they think the police force will not engage them. Well, we can call these police forces, we can call the city councils, and we can even lie to them. We can say, hey, look, I'm a Democrat donor. In fact, it might be true for a lot of you that you are Democrats and donors. A lot of Democrats are fed up with the far left too. You call these people and say, look, we won't stand for this. We will donate to the Republicans next time. Or even if you're a Republican, tell them that, you will never win a vote. We will go out and campaign against you next time. We need to put pressure on them to order their police chiefs to arrest all the agitators and shut these protests down as soon as they try to get out of hand. Now, I've talked about this before. They might try to grow the protests over several days, then bring in agitators when they think they can finally overrun the police or push their way towards the city centers and really disrupt things. Well, in that case, we should have a planned response as a secondary method. Now, when I say a planned response, I mean if you own property in these cities, if you're a property owner who's going to be directly affected by this, call your local militias, call your local 3%er groups, oath keepers, people who have training, who are ex-military or active military and police. Call them and get them to send some people over to help you guard your property. You can defend your property and your life with your life. You can defend it by taking a life if necessary. In fact, that's the law in pretty much every city in America, but do go research those laws. I tell you to stay armed, protect your business and property. We will get you lawyers. If you need lawyers after this, we will get you lawyers. The right wing will take care of its own. We will start GoFundMes or whatever we have to do. But you protect your business and property. Now, let's say it gets really out of hand. Well, the federal government already has this EMP drill in place, and people have said that's a conspiracy too. I actually have it on Snopes here, and this is something I was talking about with semantics. Snopes says, is the Department of Defense planning an EMP drill? Fact check. And it says no. To counter left-wing demonstrations. It says no, false, fake, this is their fact check. This is how the left does these fact checks. So then they say the truth. In October 2017, there are rumors about violent anti-fascist protests. The truth is that elements of the U.S. Department of Defense will conduct training exercises November 4th through 6th for a worst-case scenario. So there you go. They say, well, this is not in response to Antifa, and that's how they're saying it's false. So they can go out and tell people it's just all a big conspiracy. But they always play semantics with these fact-check sites. The truth is the government probably already has these drills in place in case of something. So the public doesn't get alarmed. They say, well, it's just a normal drill. But if they need the police or they need DHS, they're there standing by. And I think this is good on Trump and the DHS for planning ahead, because this could easily get out of hand. And let's face it, it's treason, guys. It is treason by every definition. This ad in the New York Times saying that they need to go beyond normal means to get rid of President Trump and Pence, that is saying they want to overthrow our democratically elected president. We stood back for 8 years of Obama. 8 years of Obama's craziness, of his division, racial division, constant cultural Marxism, constant assaults on average, normal, hard-working Americans, his assaults on the middle class. He left America worse off by every metric. And especially minorities. These are people who should be waking up more than anyone. Obama left minorities worse off by every single metric. When you look at black unemployment, family cohesion, standard of living, everything, he left people worse off. But we stood by and tolerated, knowing that we could take the country back and our ideals would prevail because we wanted a free marketplace of ideas. These people say they love democracy. They call themselves Democrats. But when democracy doesn't work their way, they become authoritarian and the exact fascists that they claim to hate. So let's say that the government comes in and crushes this. Well, then it's a victory for us. It makes them look bad. And these people need to face some adversity. They need to go be put in jail. I would, same time you're calling these congressmen, these city councilmen, demand they arrest the leaders for treason. Demand that they put these people in jail. The heads of this should be put in jail, and even the useful idiots, they need to spend some time in jail too, because they have not lived any kind of difficulty in their life. They are pushing for a system that enslaves millions of people worldwide because they are unhappy with their iPhone service or whatever else is bothering them. But let's face it, these people couldn't last a few days without a cell phone and a latte. And they want to put in a system in place that I've lived under that is hell on earth, where even clean water, running electricity is not to be expected in these countries. And they want to put in that style of system here in America because they're unhappy with Trump, because they've been brainwashed by public schools. We need to shut them down. They need to spend some time in jail and reevaluate their lives. Now, worst case scenario, they overrun the police. They get thousands or even 1 million people in these big cities and they start overrunning the police. What should we do then? Well, I think groups like Oath Keepers should break into small groups with no major structure because, you don't want to have any kind of liability on another group of people. We want to keep this as small as possible and as compartmentalized as possible. But we go in and we choke them off. We cut off supplies to them. We cut off any kind of communication between them. And we do to them what the police did in Charlottesville, where we try to corral them and break them into smaller groups. This worked very well, and I think we need to do it in conjunction with law enforcement. If you have a group, a 3%er group, a militia, you go in these cities, you tell the police, hey, I'm here to help. If they don't want your help, you go find property owners who want help. But if they accept your help in an extreme situation, I'm sure they will, then you go in and you help them spot people, corral, take out leaders if you have to. That's what we have to do. Otherwise, and you'll know the leaders, they're the people who are, they call out the chant and then the crowd of zombies repeat the chant. That's usually your leaders in these groups. And you'll see it in the videos on YouTube. You'll see how they organize. Anyway, this is the last worst case scenario, last resort, where we would go in with arms and defend property and try to aid the police. Otherwise, I think it's really important we shut it down before it gets to that point. We call our representatives, call our state government, and if you're in the military or you're a police officer, let your voice be heard. Tell the people in your squad, in your department, that you're not going to put up with this, that if these things get bad, you are going balls to the wall. I'm sure they will agree with you, and if you can say, look, hey guys, you say this to the people in your police department, you say, hey, look guys, we've been through enough, we've put up with enough from these people. If things get out of hand, screw a stand-down order. Screw whatever the chief says. We arrest these people and we deal with it later. If we have to get lawyers for everybody, we can. We can deal with this later. We can address it through our government and call our state representatives, our Congress, our Senate, and get these people exonerated later on. But we have to take a stand somewhere. And if they're going to try to go balls to the wall on November 4th, then we need to be ready, but not confrontational. Like I said, ready and able to stop them, to teach these people that we will not tolerate it, to show them that America's fed up. But remember what Sun Tzu said, you always want to keep the moral high ground and you always want to keep the public on your side. And that's all I have to say today.